Welcome to 39-Minute Conversations. Please wait for your host to begin this meeting. Your meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Hello, there you are. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for being here. I'm
Morning.
really, oh yeah, I'm really excited to chat with you to, really get to know you. But the first thing I do have to do is get through a quick ad read. I hope that's okay. I apologize. These are very important to bring in all the money that we're making here. This week's
That dough.
episode. I'm sorry, what was that?
Said you got to make that dough. Is my audio okay?
It's okay. I think there's just like maybe a slight delay, but it's fine. We're good.
Okay.
It'll be good. Okay. This week's episode of 39-Minute Conversations is not technically presented by SAG-AFTRA. As a famous man once said, "Welcome to the party, pal." That's a line said by a character, John McClane, in the movie Die Hard. You've probably heard of it. A line written by a writer, said by an actor, and then immortalized into pop culture because there is a powerful relationship between writers and actors. Our words are nothing without someone saying them, and actors need shit to say. Our jobs do not exist without each other. We have always been in it together, and now we walk the picket lines together officially. Your support during our strike has been invaluable, and now that you're on strike with us, you can count on our support as well. So actors, with that in mind, here are some tips from someone who has been on the picket line for almost 3 months. Number 1, sunscreen, big floppy hats. Your faces are your money makers. Protect them. You do not want to look like us when this thing is over. 2, comfortable shoes. Hoka's are the writer's choice, but there are a lot of good options. But that said, I saw a lot of high heels out there on day 1 of the actor's strike, and I'm not an expert on heels. Probably not recommended for walking 5 to 10 miles a day. So as someone who hurt his toe week 1 and it still hasn't healed properly, comfortable, roomy, supportive shoes. 3, pay attention to crosswalk signs because most of the cars are not. And finally, take advantage of the support that's out there for us during this difficult time. For example, I read a story today about the World Harvest Food Bank in Mid-City. For the duration of the strikes, writers and actors can show their union cards and get a free cart of groceries worth $300. The World Harvest Food Bank is dedicated to feeding Los Angeles one family at a time, and their support is so important and so appreciated while so many of us are struggling. I know this is a hard time. It sucks. And people in the studios are saying things like, they're planning to starve us out, that we'll come back to the table desperate to negotiate when we start losing our homes and struggling to feed ourselves and our families. And it is easy to be mad. It is easy to be depressed. I'm struggling with both feelings a lot of the time, but we should not lose sight of the people who stand with us, who are dedicating their time and resources and financial support, like the Entertainment Community Fund and like the wonderful folks at the World Harvest Food Bank. For hours and more information, visit worldharvestla.org. That's worldharvestla.org. I will put a link in the show notes. And actors, writers, keep your heads up out there. We don't know how long this thing will go, but we can get through it the same way we always have, together. And hello, I'm Brian T. Arnold, and this is 39-Minute Conversations, a podcast about reconnecting with old friends and making new ones. But I've only got 39 minutes to do it because I will not be paying for Zoom Pro. My guest today is a writer who has been out there on the picket line spreading joy as well as custom t-shirts and buttons. She's one of the people responsible for the Lindsay Doherty stepping on Dick's button that you've probably seen out there. She's a former Chicago punk rocker who knows how to rebel and promises only to do it for the greater good by creating feminist comedy and dramedy TV shows. Her first foray into writing, a comic book miniseries, landed her on the Diamond Indie Bestsellers list twice. And in addition to writing, she's a TV art director with credits that include Wandavision and CSI Vegas. Legally, we're not promoting those shows right now. It's just a matter of public record. Please welcome Dana Braziel-Solovy. Did I say your last names right?
Oh, it's Braziel-Solovy, but literally nobody says it right. So if you said it wrong, you said it right.
Saying people's names wrong is a phobia of mine, and this is the first time I've said your name out loud. I apologize for getting it wrong. I should have asked for pronunciation ahead of time.
No, I like it. I love to see like when people get there, what comes out.
You're not the first guest that I've gotten their name wrong. I've learned 0 lessons from it. You are a writer, like I mentioned, who has been out there on the picket lines a lot.
Yes.
You are someone who We have been friends on social media for a while, but we've met a couple times in person, mostly I think only at the picket lines at this point.
The picket line. Yeah, you pick it a lot too.
I do. But I'm excited to actually like spend some time getting to know you, actually like having a real long, in-depth conversation. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored. If you've interviewed so many amazing people, I'm not worthy, but thank you.
You're absolutely worthy, and yeah, it's just so appreciated. Like you taking the time, and I do try to start these interviews usually the same way. The pandemic is the reason this podcast exists. It kind of turned me in a bit of a shut-in. The picket lines have forced me to be out in public and interacting with people for the first time in 3 years, but that is where this started. So I want to ask how the last few years been for you. How did you stay sane? How did you learn about yourself? Maybe how is 2023 Dana different than 2019 Dana?
Well, first of all, I can't believe that it's been 4 years. Like every time somebody says 2023, my mind is blown. But I think that, like, I think that something that can be really hard for me is spending time with myself. So I think that personally, I have grown quite a bit, and I'm very proud of myself that I've come through the person I am today. That being said, like I remember getting a pair of roller skates from my neighbor so that I would have something to do, like just a way to get exercise in the afternoon.
Sure.
Like it has been a roller coaster of a few years. And, as somebody who is like, I work in the industry. I work in TV. I've always worked in TV because I want to write. So I started in the art department to write. And that's like a very, very social thing. So going from that to going to none of that, to going back to all of that, like really jerks a person around. And on top of that, it's just been really hard with getting writing started. Like all of the changes in the world, I feel like makes starting a career difficult. And it's not something you can ever give up. Like writing, if you were going to give it up, you would have given it up by now.
No, that's 100% true. There are so many opportunities to quit along the way. If this is something that you don't feel like you have to do, yeah, I'd recommend you don't do it.
I mean, I feel like it's emotionally like very, very traumatic. So I feel like unless somebody thinks it's worth it to endure regular emotional trauma, like right now there's like a conversation on Twitter, I think, about like whether or not it's okay to like quote unquote network on the picket line and then like what that even means. And it's like there's emotional trauma for people who are going out and trying to talk to people on picket lines. And if you can't endure that, then you're probably not good. You're not going to be a writer. It's just that hard.
That I'm not on Twitter anymore. I did delete my Twitter. So I'm missing a lot of this, but I did. I'll admit I created a fake account just to like lurk, just to like be able to read threads that like people in the writing community write, because otherwise I wouldn't see it. And I did see this discussion that you're talking about, which it seems to be maybe a little bit of gatekeeping energy of people who basically saying that about pre-WJ writers, saying, pre-WJ writers coming to the picket lines, they're just doing it to network. And I don't think that's a fair characterization of what's going on. Obviously, like everybody in the picket lines is talking, and we should be if you're feeling like talking. So yeah, what did you make of that discussion?
Well, for me, like I go out every day because I genuinely believe that I might like without minimum staffing requirements, I might never get the job that I've been working long and hard to get. And I think like it's kind of, I know why I'm there. So that's the first point of view, is that I know that I'm there because minimum staffing requirements are the most important thing in the world to me right now. And I know that's the reason a lot of my friends are there, right? A lot of my unstaffed friends. I think that we need people on the picket line. So if somebody thinks like, there are so many great writers on the picket line, like I'm going to go out and be amongst them. Okay. Like that's not a big deal to me, because the thing is they're still getting up and, walking with a picket sign for 2 hours of their day, demonstrating and doing the work. So I don't really care. Like if somebody is showing up because they want to be amongst great writers. Okay. If somebody wants to be there because there's a cool event, okay, that's fine too. If they want to be there for a food truck to get their steps in, like why ever they're showing up, I think the fact is that we need people to show up. And not to say I want to focus on the people who are showing up and honor that, but also like some people are not showing up. So
That's true.
I wouldn't be mad at someone for whatever reason they came. You know, and that said, like I was talking to somebody who had been writing on some cool stuff, and they asked, I never asked them what they were writing on. They asked me what I was writing on, and I said, "Oh, I haven't staffed yet." And this person straight up turned around and walked away from me. Like I had not tried to network them at all. They asked me what show I had been on, and I said, I haven't been on any shows. And they just turned around and walked away. And, you know, that's fine. They don't have to talk to me, but like, you know, like what's the counter? Like if somebody is there to make new friends and meet new people who are writers, like how is that worse than somebody who like actively won't talk to somebody who hasn't written on a TV show? Like, what are those people? We're not talking about that, you know?
Yeah, that I don't love that.
No.
I've I'm a relatively new member of the WGA. I just joined last year. So I am, thank you. I am, I have been on both sides of this, not on strike, but I've been, yearning to be in the WGA, and I've been on like new member. I don't, we're all writers. We're all, whether or not you've reached, the not arbitrary, but the requirements to be in the WGA, you are still a writer. This is still your fight. This is your future. And the idea of, turning someone away or walking away from them because they, oh no, what is this person going to ask of me? What kind of like, they don't have the credits to like, that's such a weird energy. And I haven't seen a lot of that. I'm sorry that you have. That sucks.
It's just I guess the comparison and the reason why I even bring it up, it's like the preemptive decision that talking to somebody isn't worth it. And our entire fight right now is to keep the writers' room an active thing, and an active career, an active ladder to climb. Like if there's no staff writer, if there's no mid-level writer, if there's no upper level writer, like we're trying to keep a ladder. And if the people who are out there fighting, like to me, we should all be on the ladder together. So it's interesting to see something that feels like it's fighting for everybody to have a seat in the room, for people to automatically like disclude somebody who is like at the bottom of the ladder without talking to them. So it's just an interesting observation. Like at what point do you decide somebody's worth talking to?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I always wonder that as a comedy writer, I look at, old school comedy rooms, and I know people's careers, and I think, well, this person came up with that person, but finding that kind of mentorship seems like kind of few and far between these days. Like,
it definitely
does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. That it is such a weird energy to like to experience that. But that's just hopefully just one interaction. Hopefully that is rare out there. Have you had, better experiences with other writers than you've had than that one that shall not be named, but we're not big fans of right now?
Yeah, and honestly, the person who I had that interaction with gave me like a very vivacious hello the next time I saw them, which I thought was funny. I'm like, okay, like we've moved forward. This is great. We can be friends. I'll be friends with anybody. I don't hold grudges. Like, I think you can't, like, it's really not good to be sensitive in this industry. I've had so many great experiences. I've had so many great experiences. Yeah, totally. Like Mike Royce has, I think that every single pre-WGA, probably WGA writer, like knows this man and has talked to him at some point on a line. He's always organizing. He's always going to the places where there aren't a whole lot of people. So you'll see him and have, a long conversation with him. I've met just a ton of amazing people who have done some amazing things and had some really great conversations. And I think for the most part, if people aren't talking, it's because they're not feeling social. It's not because there's any sort of animosity. People seem very, very friendly.
I will cop to that occasionally. Like there are days when I'm out there, I'm just like, I'm putting my headphones in, I'm getting my steps. That's all I'm here for today. But there are other days, and I started captaining now. I'm a captain at Paramount. So I can't really put the headphones in and ignore everybody anymore. So I kind of have to be social, which is not my natural state. But yeah, so where all have you been like picketing? What have been some of your favorite places to picket, theme pickets? Because now that I'm tied to Paramount, I feel like I've got a little FOMO about the other locations.
Okay, so I've been at I am East Side. I live in Los Feliz, so I have not made it out to Amazon. I made it to Fox on a later evening when there were some things shooting, and we would we wanted them to stop shooting, so we did off hours.
Nice.
And I was there, and Fox, but I have not done Amazon, Sony, or Fox during the day, or TV City because they're too far. But sure. I've done Radford a lot. Okay. Radford is my mental health day. Like I go there a week. And the reason I think of Radford as my mental health day is because I love the captains there. Like the captains there are so amazing. Like I love Miles Warden. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a comedy writer who is like, seriously, if you see him, he's like, oh my God, hello. And it's not a captain's job to make my day better, but he always does.
Mm-hmm.
Joelle Garfinkel started the Green Envelope Grocery Project, like giving grocery money to people who need help because of the strike. Like, Andra Whipple, they're all amazing. So I love going there and just enjoying myself. I love going to Disney when there is not a special picket. And the reason I go to Disney when there's not a special picket, I'll say I avoid special pickets unless it's something I really want, because I love a special picket for bringing people out, and it's effective. It really does. I'm really grateful to everybody who plans them and everybody who shows up to make them so amazing, but it is to rally people. And so I think that if I can show up somewhere where there are going to be less people, my body is more useful. So I will try and go I'll go to Disney on a day when there's not a special picket so that they kind of need me there, need me more. Barham, Universal, totally underrated. I don't know why people aren't going there like in mass. It's amazing. The energy there is amazing. You can get so many honks. Like the cars actually, there's a certain light where the cars drive right at the corner and then turn. So they see with your picket sign. And if you do the honk motion, you can get the whole line of cars to honk for you. It is amazing. But there aren't a whole lot of people who go to Barham. So I try and go there once a week. And so that's kind of like my favorite is to do like CBS Radford, Barham, just to provide extra coverage. And then I highly, highly, highly recommend, if anybody has not done it and is able to, the rapid response, special pickets, locations pickets, when they hear of a show and then you just shut something down, they'll call, they'll send out an email for a picket. You can ask captains at whatever lot you go to. There's usually somebody who can, either get you on that list or give you the information, but absolutely, if you can do a special picket, that is the best, because not a special picket, sorry. Like the rapid response or location picket.
The sort of the after hours or before hours, the pickets are like specifically targeted to shut something down.
Exactly. Very rewarding.
Are those still happening? It feels like, because I know most things have stopped shooting in LA now. Are you still hearing about some of those?
So the last one I did was at the end of June.
Okay.
So not so long ago, but General Hospital was shooting and kept shooting. So but they organized a 2-week special picket or location picket. It's not a location, it's a studio. But yeah. And that was great because you actually got to do something. You got to shut something down.
That is a good feeling. Yeah, it is a good feeling. One of the best days I had was early on, and just, turning away a truck that was going to cross. I was like, oh, we're not crossing. It just feels like, oh, I'm out here for not just symbolic reasons. There is a real reason to be out here forming a picket line.
Where did you do that? What was the occasion?
That was Paramount. That was the Gower Gate. It was a truck that was going to pull in. This was before I was a captain. The captain who was there just went over and talked to the driver, and the driver moved on. And that was beautiful. It was a good day.
That's so good. Did you know, the WB, there's a WB, there used to be early morning pickets for WB when there was stuff shooting. They don't do it. They'll only ask you to do it if there's something going on. They're not going to have you get tired. And that's something people have been very conscious about, with the WGA and people who are organizing with the WGA, that I'm so grateful for. Like, they'll say, don't come. If there's nothing to do, don't come. They don't want you showing up early if there's nothing shooting. But Gabe Garza actually started the early morning, like started showing up to do early morning pickets to stop trucks, and then eventually organize that with the WGA. But gosh, I did an early morning where like you could see who was coming in late for their call. Like, it was an active TV shoot, and you could see who was coming in late, and people would get really angry. And Gabe was just like cool as a cucumber, making sure everybody was safe, dealing with, all of the logistics, like we're doing all the reports for anything that needed to be done. People have really stepped up in amazing ways to, make this work.
Yeah. Cool as a cucumber is a good thing, I think, for people to remember out there. It's good. Like, I know the energies are high and we're very passionate and excited, but I will share a brief story that reminded me of, because now that I'm a captain, there was a day last week where, I have to put my body in front of a car that's trying to get into the picket lane while we have the right of way. It's moving slow, but it's definitely inching toward me. And, a couple people off to the side or start yelling at the car, like, "Ooh, imagine having to wait a minute." And I was like, guys, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but maybe not when someone's like standing blocking the car. Maybe if you're blocking the car, you can say some stuff, but let's not do it while I'm blocking the car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. And I've had like that morning, like when you could tell like it's like 6:05 and people are trying to pull in. You're like, you had a 6 a.m. call, didn't you? Like, I've had people yell at me when we're just
Sure.
in the crosswalk. I've had people say crazy things to me. I actually had this one guy who had a I stand with the WGA printed on like in his front window. And I was like passing and I said, I like pointed the light and I said, it'll change in a minute. Don't worry. Like, to let him know, like, we are getting out of the street. You will be able to turn in. And he like mean mugs me and shakes his fist and points at the I stand with the WGA thing and like starts advancing his car forward and keeps pointing at it and advancing his car forward. And I'm like, you're driving into me while pointing at your sign that says I stand with the WGA. Like, are you sure you stand with the WGA? But it's just like people get anxious. Like, that's why you need to not show up late to work.
One thing that you're doing out there on the picket lines that I want to highlight people who are really like helping out in big ways. You mentioned the Green Envelope Fund with the people who are supporting that, and then there's pre-WJ mixers that I think Yelena War and Joseph Mwamba are doing alongside what's her Garfinkel? What's her? I'm sorry, I lost her name. I had it written down here.
Garfinkel? Yeah.
Yes, they're all doing these wonderful things, and then you and your friend Robin Fusco,
Yeah.
Fusco Robin Fusco have been doing these T-shirts that you all are designing and selling, and the proceeds go to the Entertainment Community Fund. I would love to highlight that. I would love for you to be able to talk about what gave you that idea, the T-shirts that you're selling, where people can buy them, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Robin has been such a badass. So like they're all my designs. I had to leave town for a family thing, and Robin like was such a badass and picked up all my buttons and was handing them out for me. So she's been like, definitely, I would say, it's good to, if you're picketing every day and you like people around, like get a picket buddy. They're amazing. They are out there. So basically how it all started was with Lindsay Doherty. My queen.
Yes, badass. Yes.
Lindsay Doherty, who I love, and everybody talks about the tattoos on her arm, but please pay attention because she also has a tattooed ankle. So that is pretty awesome. But I am in a group called the League of Women Writers, and we are, a group that is first and foremost a writing group with women and non-binary members. We also host events to elevate women and non-binary writers. We don't believe that you have to have broken in to provide access for other people. So I'll host actually I hosted a salon with one of the captains of Paramount, came and talked to 16-hour-long drama writers, a drama showrunner. So I do that, and I organized a brunch for my writers group to meet up with a writer, the League of Women Writers, to meet up with the script teasers, who are also a women and non-binary writing group. So there's 15 women at brunch. And we were basically all just talking about what a fierce badass Lindsay Doherty is. And like what people, I hope people understand. Definitely, if you've worked on a TV or film crew, understand is that it does not matter if Grip shows up if their equipment doesn't show up. And if the Teamsters don't show up, their equipment doesn't show up. And it doesn't matter, because if set deck shows up, if the set dressing doesn't show up, and the set dressing doesn't show up if the Teamsters don't show up. Teamsters drive every truck on a show, every single truck. And if the Teamsters don't show up, it does not matter who else does. So that is a huge undertaking. Like the fact that they are balancing that out, balancing their own relationships while standing behind us is insane. Like, we could not do it without them. Truly.
1,000%.
So like, here we have Lindsay Doherty, who's like, fuck around and find out. And we're just obsessed with her. Me and this, 14 other writers. And we're like, we need a shirt. We need a shirt. Like, I'm like, I need a shirt with her. And my friend's like, I need a Steppin' on Dick's shirt. And I'm like, okay. So
which is a direct quote from Lindsay Doherty. Yeah.
Right. There was an article like before we all fell in love with Lindsay, there was an article in like LA Magazine that quoted Lindsay Doherty having said, I'm stepping on dicks. So anyway, I said, I'm going to draw the shirt. It was just for me and some women in my writers groups, in a writers group and a friend's writers group. And so I am, like you mentioned in my bio, my day job is that I'm an art director. I am skilled with the arts. So I went home and I drew Lindsay Doherty as Rosie the Riveter. And that was just a really fun project that I did because I had some friends who wanted it. Sent them all the picture and they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay. But not in that tone. I drew her Jimmy Hoffa tattoo on her arm, which was a pivotal part of the piece. And then I just threw it up on some shirts. So that people could enjoy them if they wanted to. But I mostly just did it for myself and my friends who love Lindsay Doherty. And then, friends wanted some, like, I think Robin was like, oh, I need shirts for the summer. I have one that says working on my strike body. But Robin made a comment about working on her strike body. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a shirt. And I just started drawing things. So all of the elements, so my shirts, like, they all have elements that are like the flowers on Hot Strike Summer. Like, I drew those. The car on Honk Squad shirt, I drew that. The Lindsay, obviously, I drew her. So, I made a Fran one recently. I redrew, something from the opening credits of The Nanny. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And these shirts are for sale. I'll put the link in the show notes, but where can people get these shirts? And like I mentioned, all the proceeds go to the Entertainment Community Fund. Is that correct?
Yeah, they all go to the Entertainment Community Fund. It's like, what little thing can I do? And especially like, so I drew Lindsay because, she's our queen and we needed a shirt, and that was awesome. So, I think I raised like $500 for the Entertainment Community Fund with that. And then, and then I had to leave town for bar mitzvah of a nephew, and I thought, like, what can I do remotely? So I just made some more shirts, and all the proceeds go to Entertainment Community Fund.
It's amazing. Yeah, I'll put that link in the show notes. To where people can get those. They're really cool shirts. And are you selling the buttons too, or you just have to be lucky enough to see you on the picket lines and grab one?
Yeah, no, the buttons are just for funsies, handing them out. So I will be, it will be too late, but I will be handing them out at the Teamster rally on Wednesday. But I have them. I'm around.
Oh, so this episode's out tomorrow. So they'll know. So if you're at the Teamster rally Wednesday, and you see Dana, grab a button.
Yeah, I'll have the Lindsay Doherty buttons there. And yeah, if someone like wants them and they want to like message me on Twitter or Instagram, like I always make it very public where I am. You could assassinate me very easily if you wanted to.
That was my first thought. I wasn't going to say it because that just feels weird for the guy to say, oh yeah, people would just kill you if they wanted. But like, you can say it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's an open invitation. I don't know. How long do I have?
Let's talk a little bit about writing now that we've spent a lot of time on the strike. You grew up in Chicago. You were a punk. You said you were in the punk scene in Chicago.
Was.
You're from Chicago originally?
I'm from Evanston, which is
Near Chicago, yeah.
like the first suburb north of Chicago. So Evanston shares a street with Chicago. It's not far away.
Gotcha. At what point growing up there did you realize that this is what you wanted to do, that you wanted to be a writer?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I've always enjoyed writing. My dad is a poet. He writes Jewish prayers and meditations.
Oh, cool.
He's got like 7 books of them. Yeah, my sister's a novelist. I've written comic books and novels too. So I've always really enjoyed it. But my mother actually, I found out in college, like when I first went off to college, I found out that my mom was suicidal.
Mm.
But I found out like that she had always been suicidal, not that she had just become suicidal, and like no one had decided to tell me. Which I kind of think it's a good idea to let your kids know younger if their parent is struggling with mental health.
Sure.
Because my entire like the way I frame my life changed entirely. So anyway, she was suicidal and then it worked. So I lost my mother.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's life. But I couldn't really get off my floor for like a couple of years. And I just watched TV and read books and comics and all that stuff as well. But TV is so accessible. Like TV is insanely accessible. And I think there is an idea at some point, at least in my generation, growing up, where people would say like, don't waste time in front of the TV. And TV is like just the most accessible form of storytelling in my mind. So if I've had a bad day and I need to escape, where am I going? Like television. I think probably I watch 1 to 2 episodes a night because I'm very busy, and 2 if I'm feeling very gluttonous. But I look forward to it, and I honestly think that television saved my life. So when I started kind of coming out of that hole, the only thing I wanted to do with my life was to write TV, because I wanted to give that back to other people. I don't know if that sounds silly, like giving back, creating television, but I also think it's a way to make social change. The stories we tell kind of set our parameters for how we see the world.
Yeah, and I don't think it sounds silly at all. Everybody, I think not everybody, but some people going through a hard time. There is value in escapism. There's value in comfort, and yeah, through different hard times of my life, I sometimes I'll remember like, a show of like, oh yeah, well, this show is what got me through this time, or that is a valuable thing, and for that to be something that drives you is the opposite of silly to me. This is, it's not like we're not doctors, we're not out here, curing cancer or anything, but to say entertainment doesn't provide some kind of service to people, I think is reductive for sure.
No, I think television saved my life, and I think that it is good for people's mental health to be able to disconnect from what they are experiencing on a daily basis. Like, look where we are right now. Like, our industry's in shambles. I want to watch some TV.
What shows in particular help you get through times like that, or just shows that you aspire to write things in the vein of?
Oh, okay. Well, definitely aspire to write. I don't know. Like, I don't think at the time I found Pushing Daisies, I was going through anything awful, but I think Pushing Daisies is a really good example of just like insanely escapist, beautiful artwork. Currently like Hacks, the conversation about like what these 2 women are going through at, different parts in their life in the same career. It's insane. I love it. So I would love to write something like that. I also like, so something that's so fantastic, I think Pushing Daisies, that takes you out of the present and gives you like a little bit of whimsy while addressing current issues, I think is great. I love, like I said, Hacks, Dollface as well, Shrill. Those are all stories about people who are, going through some shit and addressing things that they went through in their lives. Like, I think that's something that's insanely beautiful that we need to explore. But also, like, I love like Wednesday, to say a good gothic or kind of like, how can we make misery something that's really enjoyable? I think Shrinking is a similar, I'm going to say like put Wednesday and Shrinking in the same category. For that. It's like, how do you experience something so miserable and also find joy or whimsy?
And yeah, that definitely seems to be a theme, and one that I love and relate to, because yeah, Pushing Daisies, one of my favorite shows of all time. I adore that show. And it's a show about death. Like but it still manages to be funny and whimsical and sweet, and it strikes a balance that I think not many shows are capable of. I mean, some strive for it, some are more successful than others, but it's that balance that I think is important. And, in art and film and TV, if something is almost too light, it can feel a little frivolous. If something is a little too dark, without any kind of humor, it doesn't feel realistic. Like, because even in the darkest times, there's still something funny going on. So yeah, I think those are shows that have that balance that life really holds.
Yeah. But also, like, there's just like the simple factor of just what are you watching right now? Like, anything that you're watching, I think can be great. Like, when my mom passed, I was watching American Dad, and I could just put my face in the pillow and not watch the screen, but see the images in my head because I'd watched it so many times. And, sometimes it's like whatever it is, if it's like, it could be The Bachelor. Like, I don't watch reality TV, but it doesn't have to be like the highest concept or the most artistic thing. It can just be, whatever takes your mind off of it is great.
Yeah. And people need that. People need entertainment. People need escape. And, when people kind of are like, you're just writers, who cares? You're just actors, who cares? What are you fighting so hard for? You watch TV too. You watch movies too. Like, the people, like, it's like I said, we're not superheroes. We're not doctors, but we're doing something that I think matters. And I think to try to reduce it to something frivolous is real shitty thing to do.
And like, think about people who, like, we live in LA. This is a poppin' city, but think about someone who lives in like rural Ohio. Like, they probably watch a lot of TV. I think that a lot of people spend a lot of time watching TV, or maybe they're out, at the local pub getting shit faced. Who knows? But whatever works.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we're down to the wire.
We're getting down to the wire. We have a little over a minute left. Is there anything that you want to plug? Let people know where they can follow you. Let people know what lots you're going to be in so they can find you and kill you. Anything like that?
I'm always down for a great murder attempt. I think if you're going to do it, please like make it unique. I want it to be a story. I am on social media at Dana Braziel. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Threads and Blue Sky. There's so many.
There's too many of these now.
It's overwhelming, but yeah, I hop around lots. But if anybody wants a button, just message me, find out where I am. Please don't kill me, but find me. I'm out there. And thank you for having me.
Oh, of course.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. Stop it. Please don't kill Dana. But Dana, with our last little bit of time, I do want to get into some more serious issues, things that we can really get to know you on a deeper level, get to know your soul. If someone does kill you, what do you think happens after we die?
Nothing. I actually, everything, I don't really care what people do with my body, because I think science would be great, actually. But like,
your meeting has ended. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to 39-Minute Conversations, hosted and produced by Brian T. Arnold. Music by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and tune in for new episodes, and don't forget to rate and review. If you didn't like what you heard, please don't do any of that. That's okay too. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and be well.